This isn't a hockey game, it's a circus. Y'all enjoy that? Yeah! Okay, well, so did they. Because they're still 3 points up, and we're 1 period away from defeat.
Well, if we can't beat them, we might as well keep our pride.
Yeah. Jesse, that's not pride. Sure, when Dwayne roped that big oaf, part of me cheered. But guys, I've been there. I know how you feel. I wanted to cream that jerk that busted my knee when I played in the minors. And I really, really wanted to go after Stanson for that cheap shot. But you know what? My knee will heal. And if I become someone I'm not, if I sink to their level, well, then I've lost more than my knee. You understand? Yeah. We're not goons. We're not bullies. No matter what people say or do, we have to be ourselves. You. Who are you?
Dean Portman.
From where?
Chicago, Illinois.
You.
Guy Germain.
From where?
St. Paul, Minnesota.
You.
Jesse Hall from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Who are you?
Julie Gaffney from Bangor, Maine.
Luis Mendoza, Miami, Florida.
Greg Goldberg, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Les Averman, Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
Fulton Reed, Stillwater, Minnesota.
Russ Tyler, South Central Los Angeles.
Charlie Conway, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Ken Rue, San Francisco, California. Connie Moreau, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Adam Banks, Edina, Minnesota.
Dwayne Robertson, Austin, Texas.
Michelle McCain, Duluth, Minnesota.
And I'm Gordon Bombay, Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're Team USA, gathered from all across America. And we're gonna stick together. You know why?
Because we are ducks, and ducks fly together.
That's right, Jan. And just when you think they're about to break apart,
Ducks fly together. And when the wind blows hard and the sky is black, ducks fly together.
And when the roosters are crowing and the cows are spinning circles in the pasture,
okay,
ducks fly together.
And when everyone says it can't be done, ducks fly together.
You know, come on, you know you wanted to say it with them, right? Come on, everybody can, all at once we can, right? Ducks fly together, right? 1, 2, 3, ducks fly together. Yeah, that's right, okay. I love this movie so much. The scene in this movie right here gets me really pumped up. It gets me super hyped. It's definitely really cheesy. We can admit that, right? I mean, it feels a lot more cheesy than I remember it being when I was a kid. I don't feel like I remember it being that way, but it's definitely got a little bit of a cheesy moment to it. But it still gets me really pumped up because you can tell that this is the point where everything changes in the movie, in this particular game, right? You've got this team that is made up of all of the best players from around the country, but they just haven't really gotten to play together very much. They haven't been able to really gel together as a team yet. They've played like highly skilled individuals, but at this point in the game, they're still losing. He talks about how they're still behind, right? They try to take on the personalities of other players on the team. They even try on the mentality of the opposing team that they're faced against, but they are still losing. And the whole time, they are feeling the weight of trying to represent the communities that they came from, and they are feeling the pressure of trying to live up to the banner of Team USA, you know. And so right at the end, right after the scene that we watched, the old guy Jans, he comes back out and he says, "Old ducks and new ducks must unite under a new banner." They decided they need a new team banner to connect them. And so, uniting under the banner of the Ducks instead of under the banner of Team USA, that's what does it for them. And it works. It works. They come together, each unique part, working together to accomplish something that they weren't able to accomplish before. And while this is certainly just a movie, there are a lot of different banners that we carry around with us as our identifiers, right? The things that connect us and unite us with other people. You might wave the banner of the Bengals or the Browns. You might perhaps wave the banner of the Cincinnati Reds or the newly minted World Series champion Texas Rangers. Any bandwagon Rangers fans this morning? No, nobody wants to admit that? That's fine. Sorry about any of you Arizona fans. I would have liked to see them win too, except that Arizona beat my team in the World Series a few years, a while back. Okay, I was a lot younger, but I'm not a huge fan. But that's okay. Maybe you wave one of these banners. I love Ohio State football. Absolutely love Ohio State football. And it doesn't matter where you are. You can be in another state. You can be in another country even. And you shout out OH. Yeah, I expected that to happen. You shout that out and you get some IOs coming right back at you. And immediately you know you've just made some new friends. Right? As soon as you hear that, you're like, my people are here. Where are my friends at? Right? And I absolutely love the Buckeyes. I can talk for hours about the team and my favorite memories from watching and going to some games. And I know that I can find common ground with just about some kind of common ground with anybody who likes my team. It is a uniting banner. We also can unite under the banner of the American flag. And this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing, right? In fact, we already said it once this morning, and I will say it again. A huge shout out to all of our veterans that are here this morning. We really appreciate you. I know that I do. And this is a banner or a symbol of something that unites people from all kinds of different backgrounds, life experiences, even nationalities. And people unite under that banner because it leads them and it protects them. And so we show our respect and our admiration and our allegiance to the entity that banner represents. But imagine this for a moment. Imagine being part of a nation that has been held captive by a neighboring nation for hundreds of years. I mean, we're talking 3, 4, 5 generations of your family have only ever known slavery and captivity. And then one day, a man comes along that was born from the same nationality as you and your family, but shortly after he was born, his mother gave him up, and he was raised by the people that have been keeping your family in captivity. And this guy, he comes along, and he's like, I have spoken to God. Well, actually, he kind of spoke to me. I was scared. A bush caught on fire. It was the whole thing. But nonetheless, we talked, and he wants me to lead you out of this place, out of this life of slavery. And you think, I mean, this guy's just completely off his rocker, right? He has gone completely nuts. But he actually does it. He confronts the leader of the people that have been ruling over you, and things get really weird. And as you're leaving this place, you see dead bugs and frogs and animals just all over the place. And there's this river that was once a crystal clear source of refreshing water, and now it is just a blood red, stinky mess. And you can't believe that they're just letting you walk out. They are just letting you leave. You and your whole family, your friends, your neighbors, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your cousins, everybody that you know, and a bunch of people you barely even know at all. They just walk away from this nation that has oppressed and enslaved you. And then after that, you find yourself between where you came from and this large body of water. And the people that had just let you go, well, they've changed their minds. And now they are coming after you. And you have nowhere to go. But something happens, and you can only imagine that God must have intervened. The massive body of water in front of you just splits right before your eyes and opens up. And you step out onto land that had just been covered by water moments ago, and yet now it is completely dry. What on earth is going on? But your enemies are quickly approaching. And so you cross this space, this river, this body of water as quickly, as fast as you can, so that everybody can be safe. And as soon as you get to the other side and everybody is safe, Just as quickly as the water had split, it rushes back to the way that it was. Just this calm, still, large body of water. And just like that, your enemies are no longer a problem. They're behind you. It's not an issue anymore. And you, of course, are overjoyed to be free now from that situation, right up to the point that you realize that you're now in a wilderness with no water and no food. And you're pretty sure that this just must be how it all ends. We all just die right here, right? I mean, that's it. In fact, you actually find, and Greg mentioned this last week, right? You find a source of water, another source of water, and yet it is so bitter that nobody can even drink it. And so you're just like, yep, that's it. No doubt that we all just die right here. But then perhaps maybe for a moment you sit there and you think, well, you know what? They told us that God got us away from our captors, from those awful people. You think maybe he would be interested in helping us out with the food and water situation that we find ourselves in now? I mean, it seemed like a good idea. Maybe we should ask. And you can't really even begin to explain it. But the guy who led you away from those captors, he prays, and then he throws a stick, a log, some piece of wood into the water, and you hear now it's just drinkable. It wasn't before, and now it is. And you can drink. I mean, that's crazy. That's amazing. But you know what would be really nice? What would be just perfect here would be a little bit of bread, since we're all about to starve to death. Just a little bit of bread, that would be amazing. And then suddenly there is bread, as if it had just fallen from the sky. And it's great, right? But you are constantly riding this roller coaster of emotion with God. 1 minute it's, yay, we got away from those awful people, and then, but we're kind of thirsty. And then, oh wait, we can drink the water. This is great, but we're also kind of hungry. What are we going to do? Did he just bring us this far so that we can die here instead of back there? And then all of a sudden, yay, hey, we have food. I don't know what happened, but here, now we have food, we're good. And this sounds good, right? We're up again, but it is this constant stream of, God helped us last time, but we're completely out of luck this time. God helped us last time, but we're just out of luck this time. Yeah, I mean, sure, he helped us last time, but what on earth are we going to do this time? We're doomed. We have no hope. And then he helps again. So, as soon as you start feeling kind of good about the situation, right? You're feeling, actually, I would imagine probably really good at this point. God has clearly shown that he is definitely with us. He's freed us. He's kept us alive. And you're feeling pretty good. And now some other group of people starts fighting with you. And here we go again, right? We've got food, we've got water, and now this other group of people are going to kill us all. We have no hope here. We don't know how to fight. We've only been in captivity our whole entire lives. Every single one of us, the whole time we've been alive, we've been captives. We have no idea how to fight. These people have been out here scratching and clawing to survive. They know how to survive. We can't fight. We don't know what to do. We're doomed. We're doomed. Now, you probably have guessed at this point that I'm talking about the people of Israel in the time of Moses, right? And all of that stuff that I just talked about happened. All of it happened. And these stories are recorded for us in the book of Exodus. And we come to Exodus chapter 17, and Israel is faced with another nation, another group of people that wants to fight with them, possibly enslave them again, or maybe just wipe them off the face of the earth, just kill all of them. In fact, this group of people that will be known as the Amalekites, they are descendants of Esau. So, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob from kind of the beginning of the choosing of God's people in this new nation. Well, Jacob had a brother named Esau, and they also didn't really like each other a lot. They kind of fought, they kind of argued, they definitely had some disagreements. And so Israel, or the Israelites, they are descendants from Jacob, and this group of people that is attacking them are the descendants of Esau. And so here's the story from Exodus chapter 17. It starts in verse 8. It says, "The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, 'Choose some of our men and go out and fight the Amalekites. And tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands.' So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. And the Lord said to Moses, 'Write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under heaven.'" Essentially, he says, it's going to be easy to forget about them. History will forget about them. But make sure that Joshua doesn't forget about what happened here. And then Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner," or Jehovah Nissi, Yahweh Nissi. The Lord is my banner. The Lord is our rallying cry. He is the one that we identify with. He is what unites us, and we are stronger with him, and we are nothing without him. See, in ancient times, banners, they weren't like the things that we probably think of when we hear this word, right? They weren't like these big pieces of cloth that, hang from gymnasiums that commemorate championship seasons. They weren't things like that. In fact, the Hebrew term comes from a word meaning to glisten, to sparkle, to shine. And it refers to the insignias that would be suspended at the tops of poles, large poles. In this case, specifically, the insignias of the 12 tribes of Israel. This is what Moses would have been seeing, what he would have been thinking about. See, Moses, he looks down from on top of the hill where he's been holding up the staff that God gave to him to perform miracles with in Egypt. Right? And so maybe you're sitting there and you think this is kind of a weird thing. Why are these three guys sitting on a hill holding up a staff? Shouldn't they be down, on the battlefield helping their countrymen? But see, this staff for Moses, really for all of the people of Israel, but specifically for Moses, this staff was a reminder of what God can do. See, back when God was convincing Moses of, to go and to talk to Pharaoh, he tells Moses to throw this staff down on the ground, and it turns into a snake. And then he tells him to pick it back up. I'm like, not doing that. Forget about it. I'm not picking up a snake. I don't know about you. He picks it back up, and it turns back into a staff. God had showed him his power. And he says, look, I am going to be right there with you. This thing that you think you cannot do, this thing that I'm asking you to do, that you feel completely ill-prepared to do, don't worry, it'll be okay, because I am going to be right there with you. And so Moses holds up that staff, and he sees his people experience victory over an enemy that sought to destroy them. And he sees the people and the banners of the 12 tribes. And he says, those banners are all right, but the Lord is my banner. The Lord is my identity. The Lord is my victory. He has united us together, and he has provided our victory. And then in Psalm 20 and in Psalm 60, David would remind them of the fact that the Lord is the banner under which we are to unite. He is our Savior. We are rescued by him, and we should identify ourselves in him primarily above anything else. Now, the reason why this story is really important for us today is because Moses and the Israelites united under the banner of the Lord to overcome the Amalekites. And in the same way, Jesus and his way should be the banner that we identify ourselves with above anything else. His example should be the banner that unites us. He battled against Satan and evil with kindness and compassion and love, and he overcame them. I mean, in the account of Jesus' life that is recorded or written by John, he records a conversation that the disciples had with Jesus just before he would be arrested and ultimately put to death. And a conversation that spans chapters 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 of John's gospel. And a conversation that contains what might be the worst chapter break of all time. The chapter break at chapter 14 it's terrible. It should not be there, okay? So do yourself a favor, sometime later today, go home and read the last few sentences of chapter 13 straight into chapter 14 without the chapter break. You'll thank yourself. You'll be glad that you did, okay? Go home and do that today. But throughout this conversation with the disciples, Jesus tells them about what is about to happen, right? He tells them that he's going to be leaving, and he predicts betrayals by Judas and honestly by Peter as well. I mean, think about that, right? Like Peter says, look, Jesus, you're not going anywhere. Nobody will take you from us. I will lay down my life for you. And Jesus says, well, actually, you'll deny that you even know me 3 times before morning. But don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Don't let your heart be troubled. It'll be okay. That's that interaction right at the end of 13 to 14, okay? First verse of 14 should be with the end of chapter 13. Don't separate those in your mind. But then in chapter 16, verse 33, Jesus tells them how he knows that it'll be okay. And I can't even begin to explain to you just how crazy this is and how wild this week has been. Because, we put a lot of effort into making sure that trying to make our time together here on Sunday mornings be cohesive and feel like, all the parts are kind of moving together, working together, moving in the same direction. But I had already written this verse down to use this morning when Maggie comes in to film her baptism video this week, and she's like, this is my favorite verse. I want to share this verse with everybody. And I'm just like, wow, okay. I mean, that's pretty cool. Nice little confirmation of what's going on. But the thing is, I started working on this weeks ago. I had no connection with, Courtney and what she was going to share last Sunday. And she gets up here last Sunday and shares about how this verse has been special to her as well. And I mean, look, we didn't plan all of that. That's somebody else at work right there. So I'm just telling you. But here it is again. John chapter 16, verse 33. And you heard it once already today. I have told you these things. And I want you to, as we read this, consider the backdrop of everything that's going on, right? Jesus has just told his disciples, he says, I've told you these things. Well, what are those things? He's just told his disciples that their world is going to be completely turned upside down. Everything that they wanted to see happen, everything that they thought for sure was going to happen is now not going to happen. And the one thing that they absolutely did not want to see happen, that's going to happen. Jesus is going to be killed. And so he says, after all of that, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. Jesus knew that Peter didn't need to be distraught over his impending denials. He didn't need to lose heart because what Jesus was about to do was going to take care of all of that. I mean, if you think that you have done something wrong, something too wrong, something that God just can't forgive, or maybe you know that you believe in big God, so he can, but he just isn't going to. He can't forgive the thing that you've done. If you think that, try being one of God's closest friends and having a chance to stand up for him, but instead taking the path of self-preservation and denying him, acting like you don't even know him. But before that interaction ever even happened, Jesus said, look, Peter, you're going to do this. I know you think it's completely inconceivable that could ever possibly happen, that you would even consider pretending like you don't know me. But you're going to do that. But But don't worry. I'll take care of it. You cannot undo my victory that is coming. And I am so certain that it will be okay. I am so certain that you will be okay that it's like it's already happened. I have overcome, and you will be okay. He says that straight to Peter's face. But he has that same message for you too. Because when we feel like we have messed up so much, when you feel like you have just failed so much, or you're just losing at life, right? It just keeps coming at you, and you cannot keep up. You keep messing up. Take heart. Don't be discouraged. Our banner, the one who brings us all together, has overcome it all. And our faith in Jesus allows us to not only have confidence that in him because he has already won, which he has, and our faith in him does give us that confidence, but it also allows us to partake in his victory. 1 John chapter 5, verse 4. For everyone born of God overcomes the world. He literally uses the same language that Jesus used. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. Who is it that overcomes the world? Only the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God. See, someone who believes in Jesus has the ability to overcome whatever life throws at him. Not because I'm great, and not because you're great, because let's face it, sometimes we don't feel so great, right? Sometimes we feel like we can't do it. Sometimes, even though we present a strong image, inside we are crumbling. And we feel like we have no idea how we could possibly make it through this situation. But that's why it's great that it's not our strength, but it's our faith in his that allows us to overcome. And we can have confidence in that because even when people or circumstances, when even Satan and evil itself is too much for us, feels like they are just overpowering us, he is greater. 1 John chapter 4, verse 4. You, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. The world won't overcome us. We don't have to allow ourselves to be overpowered by evil. We don't have to be overcome by worry at the sight of all of the evil and terrible things that we see around us, because he is with us and he is greater than all of that. I like to think of this verse a little bit differently. Now, I'm not rewriting, the version. This is not the official version of this verse, but it's just kind of the way I like to think of it, right? He won, so you win. He won, so you win. And no one else can say that. No one else can say that, right? I mean, think about it. The Mighty Ducks are our example from the beginning. They still had to come together. They still had to fight to win the game. Yeah, it's a movie, so it was probably scripted out, I would imagine. But they still had to fight to win the game. Your football team, your baseball team, your soccer, your hockey team, they still have to come together and ultimately fight to win. Your band, it still has to come together and perform and do well. Even America still has to come together and fight to sustain the life and the freedoms and the liberties and the things, the values that we like about this country. And it is all so incredibly fragile. But luckily for us, winning at life has nothing to do with any of those things. Winning at life is following Jesus and pointing other people to him. If we come together under Jesus and trust that he is who he says that he is, and he did what he says that he did, if we follow him, then we win. If we follow him, we win. We win because he overcame. We win not because we are great, but because he is great. And if we point people to him, Not by knowing everything or by being perfect, because that's not going to happen. But by loving like he loves. If we show how Jesus loves compassionately without conditions or qualifiers, by loving people compassionately without conditions and qualifiers, then his victory can be realized in other people's lives too. Now, this is the part where things get perhaps a little bit sticky. Because you've probably agreed with most of the things that I've said up to this point. Sorry about what's coming next, I guess. But in order for the Lord to be our banner, we can't just come together for moments of success and then leave again. It's fine. It is fine, absolutely fine to love your favorite team. It's fine to love a team that you're actually on. Might be a sport, might be a band, might be a work team, a special project team. It is actually okay to like your country. Maybe you feel like that is your team. And that can bring along with it a bunch of other banners, right? You can be Team Democrat or Team Republican. You can be Team Green Energy. You can be Team Social Justice. And maybe you try to blend your faith along with your nationalism, and you're trying to cram those things together all the time. Maybe your priority is not any of those things. Maybe it's your family. Maybe you feel like your family is your team. That's what holds you together. But none of these can be the banners that we look to primarily. And I'm just going to ask you to be honest with yourself about that word primarily. Because it would be easy, really easy, for many of us to say, well, primarily means most important. And of course, my commitment to God is absolutely my most important banner. For sure, it is, right? But is it? Is it really? If you spend most of your time fighting under one of those other banners, then it may not be as important to you as you say that it is. If you spend most of your time worrying about what you think is wrong with everybody and everything around you and how just irredeemable it all seems to be, then maybe it's not as important to you as you say it is. And all of these banners, every last one of them, will fail us at some point. And some of them someday will just be gone. They just won't be there anymore. Look, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but no matter how good you are, you won't play sports forever, okay? It's just not going to happen. You're most likely not going to play forever. And as much as I, like to say we when I talk about the Buckeyes, because, those are my guys, right? The reality is I'm not on the team. They don't even know me. I have no impact over the outcomes of what they do, none whatsoever. But I want you to remember this. When you are feeling down, when you feel like you have no people, no friends, when you feel like life is just overpowering you, just like when I say OH and I hear some IOs come back to me, like, I know that my friends are out there, right? You have people right here. You have friends right here. We won't be perfect. That is definitely true. We absolutely will not be perfect. But we will help hold your arms up. We will. And we can remind you that it's going to be okay. And we can unite together under the banner of Jesus. Jehovah Nissi. The Lord is my banner. We can win. We can have victory because he has already overcome.